So hello everyone and welcome to this week's edition of Kevin's Garage, my ongoing journey as a car building novice to complete and build my Factory 5 Roadster. So what's on the agenda for this week? Well, we're going to start off with the seats. So hopefully you can see this. I went with the Kirky traditional bucket racing seat. From my perspective, I got to try this out at the build school and when I was visiting Factory 5 as well. I'm over 6 foot, I'm 6'1". This was certainly comfortable for me. I could certainly reach the pedals and it felt good. So that's what I decided to go with. Coupled with that, I went with the Factory 5 seat track system. So I've got that to fit. To help with that process, I've got a few spacers as well. Because obviously the bucket seat's a little unusual at the bottom compared to the traditional seat, so I might need some spacers. And also it's going to help me because you don't have seat tracks for the passenger, so I'm going to bolt this directly to the car, so we'll do that. Got some instructions here as well. Just a quick point which I think is valuable is that these don't come with the kit. You just need to go onto the Factory 5 website, look under the parts list, and you'll find all the instructions. You can just print them off, so we'll be using those. So that's what we're going to do for the seats. I'm also going to do a couple of other things. I've got the steering wheel here. Again, I went with the traditional wood. I think it'll fit the look and the feel as to what I am doing, so we'll fit that. And then we'll also hopefully going to fit and finish off the aluminum on the transmission tunnel and get the gear lever fitted as well. So that's what's on the agenda. Before we do that though, I'm just going to have a quick look behind the dash and show you how I tidied that up after last week's episode. All right, let's do that first. So let's take a look at the dash. First thing I'll do is just talk about the attachment of the dash. So one thing I don't think you saw last time was these little brackets that I made here. So they're quite useful because it enables you just to put a little bolt in and keep the end of the dash away from anything to do with the hinge. So I did that on both sides, and that makes it certainly nice and solid, which is good. The other thing that I did is that, if you remember, I had underneath the dash, I think you can just see one here, I had these little brackets that I got from Breeze, and then I extended so I can put like switches and things in them. So I just had the opportunity to put like one little finishing nut on each of these. So again, that just makes the dash a little bit more secure, and I've got 4 of those across the bottom. So that's pretty good. Then you can see, one thing I didn't do last time, which I'll show you here, and this is really cool because this is magnetic. So this is just the GPS sensor for the speedometer, which just fits nicely on there, and then you can just take the wire, run it round the back, back here through, just link it to one of the tubes, and then take that right the way down, one of the looms rather, take it right the way down to the speedometer. So that's all good. And then really the back is just about, the dash is just about keeping things secure, tidying things up, anything that obviously is that you're not going to use, make sure you tidy it up. Anything else, then you can just sort of, link together. And I think that, it's still going to look a little bit all over the place, but the whole thing is to keep it tidy, make sure that there aren't opportunity to short out, and keep it so that it's not going to move around and sort of shake and fall below the dash. So that's sort of where we are. So I think I'm pretty comfortable where we are now. I think it's going to look so much better when the steering wheel is on. But okay, so let's move on and start with the seats. So here's looking in at the driver's footwell. And like everything else from Factory 5, putting the seat in really is all about planning. So what you can see is I've just sort of marked out as a grid. So if you see this line here, this is basically the 2-inch tube that goes across the driver's side. So you can see the line of rivets there. And then basically anything here has metal underneath. So underneath the aluminum there's some steel. So So that's just, you know, important. So what the key measurements here is the sort of 4 inches before this line, and this is the recommended distance apart of 9 inches. And then the reason why this line is so important is the 3.5 inch main tube from the chassis. The round tube is actually directly under here. So these are the 2 points that we're going to go and drill into for the drive for this side with the lever. That's 10 and 3/16 apart. The same on this side, and this one goes straight through that 2 inch square tube, and this one goes through it's about a 1/4 of an inch steel floor. So I think overall you've got like 4 different points. They're all solid. So I think the first thing to do now is to just to check and look at what preparation we need to do for the rails, and then we can start to install them. Okay, so that's roughly where the rails will go. So just wanted to for you to see what that looks like in the car. And then we've got to do a little bit of preparation on the rails, depending on how they're actually going to fit on the seat. So let's go and do that first. Okay, so let's show you what they'll look like. I'm just going to turn this one over for a second, and hopefully you can see the bolt underneath, and then on top you can see a regular washer, not a lock nut, and they're just locked into place. So they will go here, and obviously these go in through the car. So I'll put a spacer on there, one on the front, because obviously the bucket seat is uneven. So that's the general plan as to where they will go. So let's go and have a look to make sure that we can get these fitted and drill the right holes in the bucket seat to make that work before we come back and we start drilling the holes into the base of the car. All right, let's go and do that. Okay, so next up I marked on the seat. I put the seat into position and then marked up where it fitted, or where I wanted it to fit against the joist. So you can see it's angled slightly to the left. And this is really reading all of the feedback on the forums to say the challenge sometimes is getting the door shut on the seat. So the recommendation is you put the seats at a little bit of an angle so that you can get the door shut, particularly the bucket seats, which are a little wider. And then I made this little template which I could then put against the top and then measure down and put the holes at the bottom. So that's where we are. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go and drill the main holes in the chassis and attach the bracket. So I'll show you that, and then we'll drill the holes in the seat and see if we can pull the whole thing together. All right, wish me luck. Okay, we're going to go to Kevin Cam, and the good news is after quite a few holes being drilled and a few bloody hell Marg moments, see previous videos for the explanation of that, the driver's seat is in. So let's just talk a little bit about, you can see the tracks sticking out. Actually the tracks went pretty well. The far tracks closer to the transmission tunnel are tapped right into the 3.5 inch circular part of the chassis, so they went in pretty well. And on this side, one of them goes straight through the 2x2 square part of the chassis, and the other one just goes through the sheet metal plate, so that's pretty solid. Where the challenge comes is attaching the bucket seat, because the regular seat has like tubes underneath, whereas obviously the bucket seat is all different shapes of sheet metal. But I did manage to get it in. You can probably spot a couple of extra holes that I can fill later on, but I did manage to get it in on the rails. This is as far back as it will go, but it's fine for me. You can see there's a little bit of room, but I've got carpet to go in there and everything else, so this is fine. I've tested it. For me, it's 6'1", it fits absolutely fine, and there's at least 7 inches of wiggle room to move it forward, which means that my wife will be able to drive the car should she wish. We've got a good range there to be able to drive, which is fine. So don't worry too much about the bolts at the bottom. Actually, when you sit down, you can't really feel them, but I'm going to put like a little piece of foam at the bottom, and these ones here you can't feel at all. I did go on the forums, and the recommendation was don't think I've put this in at an angle by mistake. I put it in at an angle on purpose because you do need some additional room here for the door to get in. So I've sort of measured it and it's pretty close, but I think I've got just about enough room. And I couldn't really go much further because then you won't be able to take the seat track forward. So all I would say is lots of measuring, really work out what seat position works for you, put it as far back as you can, put it at a slight angle, and then you can make it work in terms of the tracks. Just to let you know, the bolts I use, these are just 5/16 as recommended. These are an inch long, these bolts. These ones clearly are longer. We've got a 3-inch here that went in at an angle, and we've got a 3.5-inch here. Again, but it's pretty solid, and yes, it doesn't look the prettiest in the world, but bearing in mind there will be a little bit of foam, and then you've got the cover. And trust me, even as it is, when I sat in, I couldn't feel the bolts. They're just sort of in the right position that they fit sort of either side of you. So again, with a bit of foam, that will be absolutely fine. So pretty pleased with that overall. It does take a little bit of a while. You've got to be patient. But if you are, then I think it all works well. Now I'm going to go and do the passenger side. All I'm going to do with that one is I'm just going to raise it a little bit to match this. So maybe up about an inch, and I've got some spaces to do that, but I'm just going to bolt it straight to the floor using the template in terms of it's either going to go into the circular part of the chassis, the 2x2, or straight through the metal floor. So let's do that, and then I'll come back and show you what that looks like. So you can see that both seats are now in. The passenger seat I just bolted directly to the floor with 5 bolts. So I marked out to make sure that the 2 bolts over on this side I managed to put straight into the round 3.5 part of the chassis, so they were just tapped into that. Then this one in the back corner, that went straight through the and out the other side, and bolted the 2-inch square tube. And then I put 2 bolts here towards the front that I could bolt through the steel plate. So I used spacers on this seat. So I used 2 1/2-inch aluminum spacers at the back, then a 1-inch spacer, a 1.5-inch, and I think this one was like a 2-inch spacer. But you can feel now it's really nice and solid. And again, I put it over a little bit facing to the right, because if you remember, when you look at the foot box as well, you can see that the legs are sort of moved over a little bit to the right. So overall, I think I'm pretty pleased with how the seats have ended up. Obviously not going to cover them for now, and they're just bolted in because I'll need to adjust them when I obviously put the carpet in, but at least I know how it's all going to fit. So I can dry fit now the seat belts, see how they come together. But I think before we do that, I'm going to put together the steering wheel. So let's just do that. Okay, so let's move on and start assembling the steering wheel. You can see I went with the wooden steering wheel. This is very traditional, which is the sort of look and feel that I'm going for. Then you've got the boss that it is attached to. It only fits on one way, so that's good. So you can try a number and go, oh no, not quite right. Let me find the right way, and there it is. And then it just fits with these Phillips screws and lock nuts. I think these are M6. So let me just pop this in, and then we'll take a quick look when it's finished. Okay, so we got the steering wheel. Again, it only goes on one way. Put a little bit of thread locker on the bolt, and then tighten it up just with the washer. Oh, get that nice and secure. Okay, feels good. Now what you can do is use this as a good test. So if that's the top, move it to the right. You see I've moved that one. Just over 1.5 is a full lock. Let's move it back. That's the half. That's the one. Back to the middle. And then that's the half. And then that's the full one. So I can see, go back to the half, go back to one. So that now for me should be level, and I can see straight away that I'm slightly out of alignment in terms of my wheels are pointing a little bit left. So I can make that tweak and at least get that straight before I have my first run. So all I've got to do now is put the middle boss on and the badge. I'm not going to do that straight away, but looks pretty good. Okay, so we're just fitting the harness now, and again it's a dry fit. All of this has to come off again in the future, but to give the car a little bit of a test drive later, we definitely need to have one of the harnesses fitted, so I'll go through the process. The only one that's a little unusual is the ones that are on the inside tunnel next to the transmission tunnel. So what you have to do here is actually, I'll just move into position, is actually just drill a 1/2 inch hole. So I'm just going to start mine with a 3/8. There's nothing behind it, so it's pretty straightforward, and you secure the bolt actually through into the transmission tunnel. Okay, there we're just through. I'll just finish that up now with the 1/2 inch, and then we'll pop the bolt in. Okay, so there it is. The bolt fits in nice and tidy, not too bad at all. So let me just put the seat back in, and then I'll show you what the whole thing looks like together. Okay, so the seat belts are in. Let's take a quick look at the final connections. Obviously it's still only dry fitted, but you can see hopefully the two connections just down here, nice and straightforward, easy to shorten, nice and neat. Obviously not finished off yet. Then you can see down the sides, pretty straightforward to pop this one in here. The other one you can't see now, but it actually went in pretty easily. And while I was adjusting the passenger seat, I took the opportunity to drill that hole as well. So the good news is all the holes are drilled, and you can actually get good access to those bolts from underneath as well, though you probably will need a friend to do that, because obviously you'll be screwing the bolt in from the top. All right, so I think the Simpson harness looks pretty good, so pleased how that went overall. Right, so let's just summarize and bring this edition to a close. Okay, so that's it for this week's edition of Kevin's Garage. Getting very exciting now. We are getting very close, and looking forward to being behind the wheel for real very soon. So let's just discuss what we did this week. So a couple of things to tidy up in terms of the dash. So very pleased with how that's turned out. Now, in terms of the seats, I have to be honest, the seats were a little bit more challenging than I originally envisaged. And while the instructions are very good if you're fitting the standard seats, if you're fitting the seat runners and the bucket seats, it's a little bit more of a challenge. But planning everything out, making sure you measure twice and drill once, not that I did that every time, certainly made it a little easier. So I put the seat tracks on this side, works quite well. My wife's tested it, she fits too. And then the other seat I just bolted direct to the floor. And as long as you've got plenty of little aluminum shims, you can get the seat in exactly the right position. In terms of the harness, just dry fitted it at this stage. I have to say it's pretty secure, feels nice and solid. And so I feel pretty comfortable in this position, and I have to say I love the steering wheel. Really like the wood. Yes, I know a lot of people prefer the leather, but I think for the look and the feel that I was going for, very excited by the wood. In terms of tool of the week, I have to say this week I discovered the sort of drill and tap, and really enjoyed that process. So if you're if you're doing it by hand, which is fine, I've got that set and I did that too. But sometimes when you're in sort of working in awkward places, one of these little ones that the combined drill and tap that goes straight into your drill makes the job a lot easier. And as you're tapping a few times when you're putting the seats in straight to that 3.5 inch tube, then it makes it much easier. So, okay, so that's it for this week. Next week, I think, will be the big one. We're going to do the final check on the car. We're going to add all the fluids and we're going to start her up for the first time. So, can barely contain myself with excitement. All right, okay, so that's it. Hopefully you're still enjoying this novice's journey, and if you are, then please, as always, like and subscribe, and as always, thanks for watching. Take care now.